The Mandela Effect, a common phenomenon that has become a very popular topic in the online scene in recent time, and has caught the attention of many people looking to share experiences that never actually existed. This effect can be applied to a wide variety of things, and does not actually have to be limited within the confines of the gaming world. In fact, some of the most popular of these effects can be seen with symbols such as the Monopoly Man having a monocle or Pikachu having a black end on their tail. Regardless of its placement in the online picture, it seems that the Mandela effect occurs almost everywhere in every single genre and corner of the internet, with of course Call of Duty Zombies being one affected by such a phenomenon. Obviously, with the extensive history of Call of Duty Zombies being a very mysterious and confusing mode, it is no surprise that over time Mandela effects have popped up for a wide variety of the games throughout the years, and occasionally still gets revived from time to time. So today I wanted to dive into some of the deepest and craziest Mandela effects that feature within Call of Duty Zombies to take a trip back to the past to relive some memories that simply did not exist. But first, what even is the real definition of the Mandela effect? The Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a person, but most of the time a whole group, have a false memory of an event, idea, or occurrence. The term was coined after the famous politician Nelson Mandela was falsely believed by a wide variety of individuals to have died in prison in the 1980s, when in reality he was released in the 1990s and died in 2013. Ever since this occurrence, this effect has been known as the Mandela effect, and has caused a lot of people to freak out and question their own beliefs as to what was real and what was a figment of their imagination. But today we will not be covering a broader look at the Mandela effect itself, but rather how it relates to Call of Duty Zombies and some of the effects that have sprung up over the years. To accomplish this, I found a Reddit post that compiles an extensive feature of Mandela effects across a wide variety of games, and near the end I will be adding a couple that were not mentioned in the specific Reddit post. Now yes, I know that the thread itself was started 3 years ago, however there is some really interesting and unique effects in here that I wanted to talk about in this video today to potentially see if anyone would relate to them in any way. Credit to the person who initially started this thread, Batiro Val, as this is literally the only readily available online piece of Call of Duty Zombies Mandela effects, and if you would like to take a look at the full discussion, you can in the description below. But let's start with the Mandela effect proposed by the initial creator himself, in which he says, quote, "I could swear that in Call of the Dead, the top of the lighthouse contained 2 box locations, not 1. Now this actually was one that I personally believed for a little bit when I first got into zombies, as Call of the Dead was one of my favorite maps, and I had memories of attempting to get the scavenger from the box but having no luck whatsoever. I most likely believed this for as long as I did, and for him to believe it as well, because of how many times I was constantly visiting the 1 box location on the top of the lighthouse and hating it so much because of how easy it was to get trapped in the corner. Let's move on to the first comment though, which is by a user named Haiti77KSA, which states that people believe that there was an achievement or award for completing the Shadows of Evil Easter egg, when in reality it does not exist. This is actually true. The Shadows of Evil Easter egg quest does award you with some XP and a calling card, however no particular achievement is granted on any given platform such as PlayStation or Xbox. It is something that is really strange though. I mean, why would every other Easter egg within the game have an achievement but not Shadows of Evil? It does not make a whole lot of sense, but it does definitely make sense that people would believe this memory because of the maps that followed it. Moving on to the next comment, a user by the name of Supa Idol states that his friend swore that there was a mystery box location next to Double Tap in the mansion on Barry. Although I can see why people would believe this, there is not really a whole lot of room to actually put a box location here, and obviously it would not be the best spot, as Double Tap already is in a bad spot in this map, as of course it forces you to go through the whole witch's house to get the perk in the first place. There are 2 mystery box locations in the maze, which arguably could have been worse than one in the mansion itself, but let me know in the comments if you ever believe something like this, but personally I never had this particular belief. The creator of this thread actually had another one to share, stating that he could swear that an Easter egg step of Der Eisendrache was to plant a gravity spike at the place where you would get the Firebow quest star when the clock reached exactly exactly 9:35. Now obviously this is not real, however it is pretty easy to see why he believed this. First of all, there is a side Easter egg quest that somewhat involves this on Der Eisendrache that would allow you to get the plunger, which yes is actually a real side Easter egg, which sees the player placing down the Ragnaroks by the clock and then stopping the clock once it reaches 9:35. But this is not actually the only piece of evidence towards why he probably believed this, as in a very early guide by Noah J456 for the main Easter egg of the map, he states that,
so the first thing you need to do is head up the stairs in the clock tower and go behind the cogs that are on the clock. Now what you need to do is take out your gravity spikes and use the L2 button to slam them into the...
Obviously, we now know this is not a step to the main Easter egg and is instead a side Easter egg. So in combination of both of these things existing, it probably explains the Mandela effect brought up by the creator of this thread. A user known as SamSlayer09078 brings up the Mandela effect that many people had that stated that the Pack-a-Punch Wonderwaffe would kill 24 zombies on Der Riese. This of course is not true, as the Wonderwaffe DG2, as it is in literally every other appearance of the weapon across almost every single game in the series, can only kill up to 10 zombies with one shot of the weapon itself. On top of this, the Pack-a-Punch Wonderwaffe does not provide any more damage or effectiveness whatsoever. The only thing it does is increase its base ammo, similar to other wonder weapons such as the Thunder Gun. Some people would most likely believe this 24 number, as it does actually hold some significance to World at War zombies, as this was actually a zombie limit that was placed on the maps Kino der Toten, Verruckt, and Kino. This means that only 24 zombies could spawn in per round, making rounds like this possible on Kino. However, what is really interesting about this is that the zombie cap was actually removed on Der Riese, meaning that the number of zombies would only continue to increase as the rounds progressed rather than stunting at 24. So who knows why people believe this? It was most likely a combination of the maximum of 24 zombies and people just coping with the fact that the Wonderwaffe could have been better, but I don't really know. A user known as Flaming Butt states that he swore that the game over music for Kino der Toten was Lullaby of a Dead Man. This of course is not true, as the Kino der Toten ending theme sounds like this. Lullaby of a Dead Man only appears on 2 maps within Zombies, those being Kino der Toten and of course Verruckt, to where it appears as a game over theme and Easter egg song respectively. The only reason I can think of why someone would believe this is because YouTube videos at the time of Kino's release used Lullaby of a Dead Man a lot in their background, so maybe he just automatically associated it with the ending theme of Kino. But moving on, Chaos_Mate says that him and his friend always believed that the Gobblegum, Fear, and Headlights had 2 activations, each lasting a minute. As he states in his comment later, this of course is not true, as it only has 1 activation that lasts 2 minutes. It's pretty easy to see why he had this false memory, as all he really did was just get the numbers mixed up in terms of the minutes and activations. Next, NewNoob_Zera believed that the Black Ops 2 bank could be used in local play. While this is not true, it does have some sort of legitimacy behind it. As stated by a reply made by Haiti as well, the Black Ops 2 bank system does actually work. However, it can only be used to share points between teammates and does not carry over between games. Very similar to how the banking system works on Zombies in Spaceland, for instance. Moving on, a user known as J Banks states that the original Kino didn't have the camera that showed the characters in the Pack-a-Punch room. Now this does technically have some credibility behind it, as when you play the split screen version of Kino der Toten on Black Ops 1, the camera itself is actually disabled due to hardware restrictions, but is indeed activated when playing in general co-op. He most likely just believed this because he spent a lot of time playing split screen with his brother or something, which is stated in a portion of his comment. Next up is a user named Dreadbots vs Zombies, who says that he could swore you could get the M1911 out of the box on Kino der Toten and Mob of the Dead. Although this seems kind of like a hoax that someone would believe randomly in in the old days, there is actually some more credibility behind this comment. For some strange reason, on Bomb of the Dead, if you look very closely, the M1911 actually appears in the weapon cycle within the box. However, it is impossible to actually achieve. Videos online have shown this by gaining millions of points and spinning the box in attempts of getting it, but to no avail. And it is a strange oddity within the box on the map that could cause a Mandela effect to be created. I have no idea where the Nocturne and Toten part came from though, I won't lie. It's a little random and sounds more like a hoax he believed in the early days of zombies. Next up is a user known as Thunderstruck115 who states that when Buried first came out, he swore that the witches could do magic attacks on you when you were in front of the mansion, and he distinctly remembers getting stuck in a whirlwind for a couple of seconds. Now immediately I thought this was a result of the paralyzer on the map, as the effect it creates would match this description, but he states he was in a solo match and that could not have occurred. In all honesty, I have no idea where he got this idea from. The witches obviously have no other power than just taking your money, so that obviously is not true, and quite literally the only reason I could ever see him believing something like this is because he misremembered it being a co-op game potentially and saw the effects of the paralyzer instead. He also made another comment later in the thread that states he distinctly remembered there being a Remington 870 wall buy inside the bank on town on Black Ops 2. This one is another one that I have no idea where it came from, as the Remington does not even appear on town in the mystery box. The only potential reason I think he could even remember this is because the Remington does appear on Transit as a wall buy in the farm area of the map, and he might have misremembered it being on town instead, but obviously in Transit there are no weapons in town whatsoever. Another Mandela effect on Black Ops 2 is stated with a user named GRE_guy2, in which he states that he always thought Speed Cola was on the farmhouse balcony in Transit and Double Tap was in the diner instead, which he backs up with the fact he swore he remembered hearing the Speed Cola jingle for the first time in farm. This is actually pretty interesting. The only notable reason why I personally believe he could have remembered this in this way was because of the fact that Speed Cola does actually appear in the farm version of Grief and Farm Survival. However, it doesn't appear in the place of Double Tap, but instead at the bottom floor of the house. Moving into Black Ops 1, a user known as DeltaMania999 says that he used to think you could walk into the room to the left of the stairs in the spawn room in Kino der Toten. This is actually a widely believed phenomenon, as many thought there was a way to access this area of the map and has of course been accomplished by modders within the game. However, this was most likely only believed because of rumors spreading at the time that stated that you could. A really odd and actually pretty interesting one is brought up by a user named OK_watercress_6479, who says that they vividly remembered playing on Nocturne and Toten on the Wii version of World at War, even using the Wii gun that was an official piece of Wii merchandise. However, the problem with this is that World at War for the Wii actually did not have a zombies mode, meaning that this memory was of course false. In fact, the only Call of Duty game that actually had zombies was Black Ops 1 for the Wii, which had of course Kino der Toten, but World at War never got a zombies adaptation for the Wii. This is really odd. The only reason why I personally believe they could have ever remembered this being a real thing is because they mistook Black Ops 1 for World at War, and is just a really interesting Mandela effect that I personally have not actually heard before. Yet another Mandela effect for Kino der Toten is stated by a user known as Accomplished Curve 1, in which he says he remembers a glowing green-eyed crawler zombie in Kino der Toten, as well as a feature that would literally see hellhounds pinning you to the ground and you having to snap their necks. As he stated in the comment, the latter belief is found within the Modern Warfare Survival, most likely where this idea originated, but I have no idea where he got the idea of the glowing-eyed zombies. Obviously, Nova Crawlers do exist within the map in this game and very clearly have a green gas that emanate around them, so maybe that is what he could have been remembering, but I truly have no idea. A user known as Hyphalex says a really interesting Mandela effect I have never heard before, saying that there was a zombies map for the original Black Ops called Rebirth, where you started in the chair with the TVs. I have actually never heard of this before, but it's really cool to see nonetheless, and honestly is a really interesting idea for a zombies map. This of course does not exist, but most likely was remembered in the way that it was because of the Black Ops 1 zombies menu at the time. Moving Moving all the way back to World at War, Pokemon ROM Hack says that he very distinctly remembers there being a Pack-a-Punch machine on Verruckt in the power room in, that barrier below the mystery box. Now, for some reason, a part of me actually has a memory of something like this. Whether it be a mod playthrough from a YouTube video made a long time ago or an edited picture online, I personally have some sort of connection to this, but obviously this never existed as the Pack-a-Punch machine was not even introduced when this map came out. Let me know if you guys have this shared belief or have potentially seen a video that supports it in the comments below. But moving on, Anti-Swag Machine says that he remembers there being a double tap machine on Origins. For some reason, double tap as a physical machine does not appear on Origins, which is honestly such a strange thing to not include, as double tap is a staple perk within the available options, and making it inaccessible outside of the points challenge and Wonder Fizz is really strange. He probably believed this because on the map Revelations, the double tap machine is actually in the Origin section of the map, which could have made him transfer the knowledge of that section of Revelations to Origins, but I'm not entirely sure. But this is not the only time double tap has been discredited, which is pointed out by a user named COD Zombies Enjoyer, who says that he swears double tap appeared as a machine on Ascension and was by Mule Kick, but of course it cannot be as it does not appear on the map. But it's still so weird to see double tap removed, as once again it is a staple perk. The final comment I wanted to bring up in this thread was a comment made by Desperate Split 5731, in which he says that in the main menu for Black Ops 1 he remembered a zombie eating the guy in the window and then the guy rising as a zombie to, bang on the window of course. But this does not actually exist. Now this one is actually one I believed for a very long time for some reason. I remember this because of how scared I used to be looking at this menu, and in all honesty I am surprised to find out it wasn't a real thing. The real thing of course just sees a dude walking out of the room and a zombie walking in, which is just so weird to me, but I completely understand what this user is talking about. But that was it with the comments on the Reddit thread. A really good mix of some Mandela effects that I never even knew about, but there were a couple ones I missed out on, such as this one that says, "I thought Kino der Toten was the greatest zombies map of all time." There obviously is probably a lot more Mandela effects within Call of Duty Zombies as a whole, and I would love to hear your guys' personal favorites within the comments below. And I am looking forward to hear some of your personal Mandela effects about the mode. However, that is it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, please let me know, and with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.